So the next person that's going to speak to you has been a huge influence in Derek's life on a daily basis, is often behind the scenes, but right there beside Derek along the way. I've had the privilege to get to know Jen, Derek's wife, who's right there, over these last couple years, and it's absolutely been amazing. They're two wonderful people. She's a wonderful mother, and she's now taking it upon herself to come and talk to you guys for the same reason that David did. It's time for us all to get involved. Everyone. So, without further ado, it's my privilege to introduce Mrs. Sloan, Jennifer Sloan.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. We appreciate each and every one of you. I guess when I was asked to speak, I didn't want to get too deep in what I wanted to say, because I didn't want to hold papers and then it not be genuine. So I'm trying to speak from the heart. I was born and raised a city girl. So born in Toronto, lived there for most of my life. My upbringing was, I would say, fairly modest. We had our challenges, as every family does, but the challenges my family had was surrounding more of financial strain. So we went through a lot of financial hardships. We had to move many times. And over the years, I had prayed and I said, God, can you find me a husband that is stable?
Anything. Will this one do?
So, I think you know the answer to that prayer. Our married life has been interesting, to say the least. Got married and started having kids right away. We've been married for 8 years, and Fiona is 7, so you can do the math. So Fiona, wait. There's Fiona, my little mini-me, and there's Nora, my smaller mini-me, and then Callum, my middle me. Life is interesting. So one thing that Derek and I did agree on was our faiths and our belief system. We felt very early on in our marriage that we needed to go back to school to fulfill God's will in our life. So it was a very difficult time, because Fiona was only 9 months old. I was also pregnant 3 months with who would turn out to be Callum. So starting school, both of us at the same time, post-secondary, was challenging, to say the least. During that time, I wondered about the prayer that I had prayed, because it didn't seem like it was coming true. We were at school both for the 3 years, so and Derek, he did what he could, and he tried to work during this time as well to help support us financially. Since we went by God's leading, we didn't have a lot of money going into school, so money just kind of went. Near the end of our education, we started utilizing food banks to support our daily needs. We kept that from our parents because we didn't want them to have that financial burden put on them. But we relied heavily on the community around us. This was in Kingston, so we went to school in Queens. So we were very thankful that a lot of people donate organic food to the food bank. That was very nice. So it was during the maybe last few months of our education when I was in class, and I got a text from my dad saying, "Jenny, I have the property of your dreams." My dad's a real estate broker, so even though I had said, "Oh yeah, one day I want to have the white picket fence and I want to have a country," you know, me, a city girl, how do I know about country living? But my dad got it in his mind that that is something that he could help me with. So he called me and he sent that property to me, and I looked at it and I said, "There's no way." You know, I didn't tell him we were using a food bank, but he knew what we were going to graduate as. So I'm like, okay, I know we will be okay eventually. Right now, not so much. But my dad said, "You know what? Miracles are possible. So why don't you look at the place?" So that was a Friday. By Tuesday of the next week, we had signed on the dotted line for that property. God is interesting. He knows what we need when we need it. He knows that in our riding, HLNA, that we needed somebody like Derek there. This was before he ever talked about getting into politics, before I ever thought about being a politician's wife. But he did come to me a few short months later and ask, "Hey, you know, Jen, the Conservative spot for their candidate is open right now. Do you think I should run?" And I said, "Well, I have no idea why we're here. That must be it. So why don't you go for it?" The next couple of months, and well, that was, I guess, 2018. Since then, it's just been, as you know, just a whirlwind of activity, meeting all of you, making connections, making this our home. Change is interesting. With our married life, we've had to endure more changes than probably a lot of people. We've had to uproot many times because of school, and even myself before I met Derek. It was about maybe last month, I was moving my mom because she's elderly, moving her to be closer to my sister. And we had packed her things up, and we were driving to her new place, and we just got to talking, and I said just casually, "Oh, you know, Mom, what has it been? This is probably, we've probably moved, what, 20 or 30 times in our life?" And my mom said, "Oh, Jenny, you're making that up." And I said, "No, I don't think so." So we got to task of counting. So we got to 5, we got to 10, we got to 15, we got to 20. Me, myself, so I was with my mom growing up, and then I moved out on my own. So including when I was with her and when I was not with her, I have moved 23 times. So this is our 23rd home. Change is interesting because God will just decide what you need to do at a certain time, and then He will make it happen. I find that the word that really has, I would say, really demonstrated our life, the word that really resonates with me and our life is the word resilience. Because under extreme circumstances, you really have to show what your character is, who you are. When the city girl, moved here, I decided that I'm going to be a farmer. So that's when I asked Derek, who lovingly agreed with whatever I said, and I think he bought 20 or 30 tomato plants. I know that's not a farm, I know. But it was for me. So we had like a little old horse stable back in our property somewhere, which has very fertile soil. So I said, okay, I want to plant it there. I think they'll do well. So that was, I think, 2018. Probably before, I guess before you won the nomination, right? Yeah. So we went out there, I did all my digging and I did all my planting. That was the last time I ever went out there. There was a heat wave that I did not expect that happened, and I do not do well in the heat. So needless to say, my poor, or so I thought, my tomatoes out there, I thought were just goners. Later on in the summer, our pastor came to visit us, and he wanted to take a walk around our property. So we walked around and we stumbled across this should have been, could have been garden. And I was actually shocked to see how well the tomatoes were doing. There was tons of cherry tomatoes. They're just falling off the plants, and big, huge tomatoes. I was shocked. I had no idea that that would still happen. But that was interesting. And then the next year I got smart to it and I said, you know what? So I don't have to go outside. I'm going to plant them in pots in my sunroom. So I did that, not knowing anything about pruning or taking off the little suckers. There we go. And I noticed they got really tall. So what I did was I was like, well, I'm going to help them. So I got string and I strung them up and I tied them to it. And I was like, I'm going to take care of these guys this time. I watered them every few days whenever they got dry. And I wondered, why are they not producing any tomatoes? So I kind of liken that story to what we have had to endure. Because when I tied up those plants, I was doing everything for them. I was giving them water. I was taking care of them. They didn't have to endure anything difficult. But they didn't produce fruit. Whereas in the back, where there's like a lot of all kinds of wild animals back there, and the rains beat down, and the winds were blowing, the tomatoes thrived. So I feel in extreme circumstances, which is what we are going through right now, I want us to be firmly rooted. Bear the fruit. When we had to deal with Derek and the Dr. Teresa Tam episode, that was really hard for our family. I remember just resting my head on Derek's shoulders, just leaning on him. He was leaning on me. We had a lot of pressure that you guys will never know about. Telling him to stop and telling him to back down. But God is good. His timing is right. So wisdom that we have of things like, well, sure, we can just apologize because our real supporters will know that we're really not apologizing. Or, you know, you can rationalize it any way you want to. But the fact of the matter is that Derek did the right thing. And Derek was like that tomato plant in the wild that he was getting beat on, and yet he still produced the fruit. So when I'll go back to my earlier story with my prayer about asking for a stable husband. So through many hours of prayer about this topic and our life circumstances, I did receive an answer. So the answer was, I did give you a stable husband. Stable in his faith, in his love for me, for God, in his beliefs, in justice. I have given you the most stable husband you could ever ask for. So we don't know even what tomorrow will bring, because this is our society. This is how we are. We don't know God's timing. However, what we know is we're following him, and we're following what's right for Canada. We love all of the people of Canada. We don't wish anybody to suffer or to feel pain or to go through undue hardship. Just because somebody has a different faith than us, we don't think anything different. We just know that that's what sustained us, and that is what has made us strong. So God bless Hastings, Lennox, and Addington, and God bless Canada.